Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Public speakers this morning?
Yes,
Do
good
we have-
morning. We have 10 public speakers.
Thank you, Sophia. Who's number one?
Okay. You have 2 minutes to speak on the agenda item. I'll call your name up to come to the podium, and I'll also call the person following to prepare. When the yellow light turns on, you'll have 30 seconds to speak. The first speaker will be Richard Downey, followed by Murray Bowden. Mr. Downey.
Yep.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Richard Downer, and I speak on behalf of ALSCOR. ALSCOR requests that the board instructs NYCT to suspend consideration of the award for the R34 R179 contract until it discloses and evaluates relevant and material information that is not presented in the staff summary. As a trusted long-time vendor to NYCT, we do not make this request lightly, and we feel that both the board and we as a competitor in the procurement are entitled to more transparency as to the evaluation process. The staff summary contains the best and final offer prices for a Bombardier offer based on R179 specifications, and for an ALSCOR alternate offer based on the existing R160 fleet. It states the capital award value for award to Bombardier to be $735 million, including the Bombardier price and NYCT's internal costs. The staff summary concludes that the ALSCOR proposal was technically superior, but what the staff summary is missing is a comparable calculation of the capital award value based on ALSCOR's offer. While the staff summary does disclose pricing, it does not disclose what is most critical, that is the relevant overall cost to NYCT. This is important to the evaluation because we offer substantial savings to NYCT's internal costs as a consequence of our proven service design. In a letter dated March 27th, ALSCOR has requested this information from NYCT, but has so far not received it. ALSCOR requests the board direct NYCT to disclose a total capital award value for ALSCOR that was compared to the value used for Bombardier, to clarify how it assessed the technical advantages of the ALSCOR proposal and relative risks of that proposal,
Please conclude.
and that it properly discloses with meaningful transparency how it reached its best value determination. Public investment of $750 million merits this minimal level of transparency, and the award decision should be delayed pending such disclosures. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Murray Bowden, followed by Timothy Marshall.
Good morning. I was at the New Jersey Turnpike board meeting yesterday, and I guess my presentation wasn't up to snuff, and Jim Simpson took a few minutes to read me the Riot Act and tell me how to behave properly, and of course he was correct and reminded me I've been following him for 15 years, or he's been following me around for 15 years. Ronnie, by the way, misses you all, and she's having a great time. They're working on making the electronics available and for all of you using it and everything else, but the point is, when I'm speaking to you all, please don't look at your email underneath the table on your telephone. I deserve your full attention when I'm speaking. And if you haven't pay attention to my miserable 2 minutes. Mitch, I have a question. Metro North, I have to phrase this very carefully because I can't use names the way I did in a committee meeting. They're running 2-car sets instead of 3-car sets. Well, you know, Governor Cuomo said that this information silos have to be broken down. And so if I ask if they're 2-car sets or 3-car sets, you could say 2 or 3, one word, and that's breaking down that information silos, and so we don't have to use the Freedom of Information Act to find out. Because if you're using 2-car sets instead of 3s, you're buying 50% more control booths than you really need, and maintaining and everything else. There's a lot of millions of dollars involved there. And you're not used. When you had trains that broke down, you bought 2-car sets. When you have trains, and they're so proud of the fact they go 100,000 miles between breakdowns, you can use 3-car sets because the bathroom is only 1 car away either way, because the new ones all have bathrooms. And all of those extra booths and bathrooms you're buying could save money and increase seats.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden.
Thank you. Next speaker is Timothy Marshall, followed by Nyan Parikh.
Good morning, Chairman Lahota and distinguished members of the MTA Board. My name is Timothy Marshall, President of the Jamaica Business Resource Center, and I'm here representing that organization, which was established by former President Bill Clinton in 1995, and the Executive Board of the Minority Business Leadership Council, which represents 15 leading minority business organizations throughout New York. We're here this morning to express our support for the outstanding work that you and the board and the staff are doing in advancing the mentor program, the loan and bonding program, and other important initiatives. It is coming at a time when joblessness is at an all-time high in our communities. It is coming at a time when minority and women and disadvantaged businesses need business opportunities, and I'm sure that all of you are fully aware that historically the MTA has not stepped up to the plate on this initiative. But over the recent period under your leadership and the most recent leadership, a new paradigm and a new culture is being established here, where contractors are beginning to get work and people are beginning to get jobs. And what we implore you to do is to do more. We applaud your staff, which is outstanding and has been relentless in the creation of these programs, and we thank you for the opportunity to partner with you. We express our full partnership with you as a board and you at MTA to advance these important initiatives for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Nyan Parikh, followed by Samuel Padilla.
Good morning, Chairman and the board members. My name is Nyan Parikh. I represent the Society of Indo-American Architects and Engineers. Our organization consists of more than 1,500 professional engineers, architects, and engineers. I admire the MTA's chairman and the Governor Cuomo's effort to help the minorities for the substantial mentorship program and the contracts. And I second the Timothy Marshall. We're very supportive of our efforts with MTA and looking forward for more efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Samuel Padilla, followed by Andrew Simmons.
Good morning, board members and Chairman Lahota. My name is Samuel Padilla. I'm president of Padilla Construction, and I'm on the executive board of the National Hispanic Business Group, Latino Building Council. I also, like Timothy and the speaker before, after him, applaud the MTA's efforts on the minority business enterprise and trying to get the percentages up when it comes to your budget. I applaud what's being done by Michael Gardner and the new programs that he's established. However, I look at results. The results are that we still have a very, very small percentage of the work going to the minority and women-based enterprises in our New York City area. They don't reflect the people that you serve. This year, as I understand it, we have recently approved a $20 billion 5-year budget for the MTA. But this year, up from last year to this year, this till February, I think we have spent $18 million on MWBE work. $18 million on a budget that probably is close to $7 billion in expenditures today. That is exceptionally low. And I ask and implore you to look at that and not only take Michael's vision that he's implementing to you people, but make it a reality. Make it a mandate that 20% of your budget goes to minority and women-based enterprise businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Andrew Simmons, followed by David Sell.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Simmons, representing Lachey's Construction and Development Company. I would like to first thank the Chairman Lahota and the entire MTA Board for being supportive of the MTA MWDBE programs. Lachey's is also grateful for Governor Cuomo and his increase in the minority participation to 20% As a New York City minority company, I'm honored to help rebuild New York transportation infrastructure and to employ a diverse workforce that reflects the people of New York. Also, I'm very grateful and appreciative of Michael Gardner for starting the Small Mentor Program and has been working with me very closely and helping to grow my firm. In this program, Lachey's recently completed the Port Jervis train station project as a prime contractor for the amount of $700,000 for Metro-North Railroad. Lachey's has worked for years as a subcontractor and always wanted the opportunity to work as a prime contractor to have more control and a better opportunity to grow our firm with the help of the Mentor Program. Lachey's is getting prime construction bidding opportunities. Sorry about that. With the real on-site experience and training classes, we gain valuable experience with project tracking, scheduling, submittals, contract interpretation, change order procedures, project management, and closeout procedures. Also, Lachey's created over 30 jobs for this project. In closing, Lachey's had the opportunity to take advantage of the Mentor Program to receive a loan from Carver Bank, which really helped with purchasing big items like new shelters and keeping a positive cash flow to complete the project. We are very grateful to have this opportunity to grow Lachey's as a strong, successful prime contractor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is David Sal, followed by Jen Waller.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is David Sale. I'm from Vancouver, Washington, the state of Washington, USA. On April 24, 2010, my daughter and 4 of her friends were run over in a crosswalk in Portland, Oregon. They were in a crosswalk on a green light. The bus driver plowed into them, drug him 60 feet, backed over him, drove over him again, and then turned the bus off and kneeled on top of him. The bus driver at that time had made an unscheduled courtesy stop, and she proceeded to make an illegal left-hand turn. After she killed my daughter and another one of her friends, her boyfriend was injured severely and is still recovering from those injuries. Since that time, I've helped a company called TAPCO create a driver training program. That company has been around for, it's a new company, but the members of the company opened this company to do exactly this, train drivers and create an operator development course. Between them and the experts that helped them create this course, there's 100 years of experience in the transit industry as well as the transportation industry. I'm imploring you guys to take a look at my program. I would appreciate whoever's in charge of your safety and your transportation training to take a look at this program and help us change the culture of driver behavior in the United States. This is an epidemic that happens constantly. 3 people in San Francisco were run over, 2 were killed and 1 severely injured in less than 6 months this last year. 1 in August, 1 in October, another one this last February. West Valley, Utah, another 23-year-old girl was run over in a crosswalk on a green light, and it's a problem that happens continually throughout the United States, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that this message gets out. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jen Waller, followed by Sean Carey.
Hello, my name's Jen Waller. I'm a participant in the Occupy Wall Street movement, and I'm here today because on Saturday, March 17th, I was brutally arrested with a lot of my friends for sitting in a park, and we were transported to the 20th precinct in one of your buses. And when the MTA bus pulled up to pick us up, there was a woman that was writhing on the ground, seizuring. In that same moment, they brought us on the bus, and they used the bus to hurt us by slamming people's heads into the NYPD, by slamming people's heads into bars and steps and seats on the bus. I don't think that this is something that your buses should be used for. And so then also when I was on the bus, I spoke to the driver, who was clearly unhappy about what he was doing, though he didn't say anything. And when this happened last time to Occupy Wall Street, it was the Brooklyn Bridge arrests when 700 people were arrested. and they used your buses that time. And when that happened, the TWU spoke out against it, against that misuse of the MTA's buses. And so I'm here to say that I'm disgusted with the NYPD's use of MTA buses. I think that it's really horrible that they're made available for arresting people and transporting them to jail. We were held in that bus for 3 hours without food, water, or a bathroom. And
Please conclude.
And we stand with the TWU also. The TWU serves the 99%, the TWU is part of the 99%, and the MTA and the NYPD serve the 1%. Thank you.
Thank you. Please keep your comments to agenda items only. Next speaker is Sean Carey, followed by Tony Murphy.
My name is Sean Carrier, and I participate in Occupy Wall Street. I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about public resources. On March 17th, 75 people were arrested in a public space by the New York Police Department. A public bus was commandeered by the NYPD. All of the passengers were asked to leave, get off the bus. Public bus number 6694 was then loaded up with prisoners and used as a transport vehicle by the NYPD. As a result of further police violence, a bus window was smashed and people were subjected to abuse and brutality on a public bus. When you walk on a street and when you ride a public bus, I want everyone here to think about whether that has been a site of police abuse and brutality. This has been a gross abuse of power and a gross abuse of public resources. I'm here to say if Mayor Bloomberg wants to use the private army of the 1% to arrest people in public space, then he can do it without using public resources and our buses to transport prisoners. MTA bus drivers should never have to be subjected to following a command of a repressive police force and forced to transport citizens in a public bus to a prison and subjected to violence on a public bus.
Please conclude.
We stand with the Transit Workers Union.
Thank you. Next speaker is Tony Murphy, followed by Tom Hintz.
I would like the press to take note that what's being reported here today is the MTA's collusion with the NYPD to trample on the free speech rights of Occupy Wall Street, who are doing nothing but protesting the problems that the 1% have brought down upon the heads of the 99%. And it's an outrage that the NYPD would be allowed to use MTA buses, and if they listened to the transit workers, they wouldn't be doing that. The transit workers took a bold stand and said, we don't want to be used against the 99%. And I think it's very outrageous, and I think that it's equally outrageous that the MTA can brag about the money that they just got from the state Senate yesterday, which raises the amount of money they'll be able to borrow by $7 billion. But what does that mean for the ridership? That should mean that an increase in transportation services, and it should mean that the fare goes down. But the fare is going to go up in January. So what is this money but a giveaway to the 1%? It's only for capital expenses. The operating system, well, the riders can just forget about the riders, forget about the transit workers. And the MTA bragged and said, this is going to create tens of thousands of jobs. Well, you're supposed to bring back 120 transit workers.
Please conclude.
That's a fraction of tens of thousands. So what we want the media to take away today is that the MTA's collusion with the NYPD is not going unnoticed, and that the Occupy Wall Street stands in solidarity with the transit workers. They've gone without a contract since January. Do the right thing by the transit workers. Stop repressing Occupy Wall Street. And we stand with TWU.
Thank you. Next speaker is Tom Hintz, followed by Marty Goodman.
Good morning, everyone. My friends have spoken eloquently about our disgust for what the MTA has been participating in with the NYPD, and I just want to sketch out the situation a little bit better, just so everyone knows what happened on March 17th. We were assembled in a public space celebrating our 6-month anniversary. This was the rebirth of American democracy for many people. This was the 99% coming together and saying that we stand against the injustices of the 1% and the banks and the corporate takeover of our democracy. We were assembled in a park, and the NYPD came to kick us out of that park. We were arrested, we were brutalized for merely being in a public space, and then the MTA participated in our transport. That bus became a cell for 3.5 hours for us. People have already said this, but I'm going to repeat it. We were brutalized. I saw my friends picked up by their belt loops and have their heads slammed into every step going to the back of that elevated part in the back of the bus. We saw windows smashed, and we saw people uncomfortable and in pain because they had to go to the bathroom. Is this what our money is being used for? Is the public going to be complicit in jailing members of the 99% and holding them against their will? And then we were released without charges. So what does this tell you about what the NYPD is doing? We stand with TWU, and we hope you make the right choice. We say no to zeros, and we want increases. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Marty Goodman, followed by Mickey Edith.
Restore the 120 jobs of transit workers out of work for nearly 2 years. My name is Marty Goodman, a former Local 100 officer and retiree. I am also an activist in the Occupy Wall Street movement, which awakened the world to the corporate dictatorship of the 1%. I am outraged that our bus drivers are used to haul off framed-up protesters on MTA's paddy wagons. I am also here to demand that the jobs of 120 station agents laid off since May 2010 be restored right now. The 120 and their families have coped with joblessness for 2 holiday seasons and have been stuck in limbo. Critically, their unemployment benefits have run out. They cannot wait. The 120 station agents need their jobs back right now. The New York State budget includes increasing the limit on sales of MTA bonds by an astounding $8 billion, which is to be sold to the wealthy 1%, that is, Wall Street crooks. Wealthy MTA bond owners will be paid tax-free income on their bonds directly from the Metro cards of working people. Goldman Sachs, the MTA's chief advisor, and other big banks will share the loot. The greatly increased MTA funding earmarked for over-budgeted mega projects is expected to generate 20,000 jobs. But wait, just a few questions. What about the jobs of our 120 laid-off station agents? Where is the justice? Where is our jobs? Without unemployment checks, you're telling 120 workers they may get back some months down the line, perhaps during the fall. You're talking billions, but can't rehire 120 transit workers? What hypocrisy, what arrogance. MTA, have any of you ever been jobless? MTA, have you ever had to feed your family without any money? MTA, have you ever paid your rent on IOUs? MTA, do you live in New York? How dare you line the pockets of Wall Street and leave our station agents penniless? These layoffs are racist. Don't these workers count for anything? We say rehire the 120 station agents right now. No to contract zeros. No to all givebacks. No to fair hikes. Make the 1% pay. Don't use our bus drivers to drive your paddy wagons.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mickey Edith, followed by Reverend DeGraff.
My name is Mickey Egith. I'm a member of Community Board 6 Manhattan, and I have a letter to read from the Gray Panthers. The letter is as yet unsigned. Another copy is on its way to you with appropriate signatures. It's about the 34th Street Transitway. Although Mayor Bloomberg and City Council members promote age-friendly city policy to accommodate the growing numbers...
Ma'am, can you speak into the microphone, please?
Thank you. To accommodate the growing number of older residents and visitors to the city, we at Gray Panthers are dismayed by the disconnected between the city's policy and the MTA cuts in bus routes and stops. An age-friendly city should provide additional opportunities for older persons to access public transportation, not fewer options. In Midtown, the elimination of the M34 stops at Lexington and Madison, the disappearance of the buses on Park Avenue, and the elimination of the M15 stop at City Hall create hardships for elders who are active but with declining mobility and energy levels. For as long as possible, seniors travel the subway as the fastest way to get from point A to point B. At some point, many seniors use only buses. Common sense dictates that the MTA should strive...
Please
conclude. May I finish? Thank you. That the MTA should strive to keep seniors on the main bus systems rather than be forced to use the accessoride system at $60 a trip. Seniors who hike from east of First Avenue to Lexington Avenue to board a bus to City Hall may curtail their civic, political, and daily activities. Should this happen, I guess I have... may curtail their civic and daily activities. Gray Panthers urges that the MTA management team reconsider bus service cuts that inconvenience many residents and workers, but especially create hardships for the aging population. We would be glad to speak with you about our concerns and to determine ways to improve accessibility for New Yorkers of all ages who are customers of the New York City bus system. We look forward to your response. It will be signed by Mary Springer and Jack Kupferman of the Gray Panthers.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me for so long. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Reverend DeGraff, followed by Jim Heigler.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Jacques DeGraff. I'm a vice president in the 100 Black Men. By way of credentials, I'm a past recipient of the New York City MWBE Advocate of the Year Award. The State of Israel has recognized me with its MLK Award. I've been on the battlefield a mighty long time. I'm here today to support the diversity and mentoring programs of the MTA as far as they've gone and to tell you to stay the course. But I'm also here today to say to those who oppose progress, those who have stood in the path of opportunity, that we are watching and we stand prepared to continue the battle. We came to serve notice that we will not accept waivers or exemptions. We will not accept undermining or obfuscation. We stand with you and we extend our hands as partners. We are faithful friends and fearful adversaries.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jim Heigler, followed by Robert Cohen.
Heiliger.
Heiliger.
Good morning. My name is James Heiliger. I'm the president of the Association of Minority Enterprises of New York, 35-year-old Minority Women-Owned Business Trade Association. That association that worked with the first COMO to create Article 15A that led to where we are today. I'm also co-chairman of the New York City Minority Business Leadership Council, which is the largest contractors association of organizations, trade association, black and Hispanic, that fought the issue to raise with COMO the 20%. This is only the second time that I've testified here where I didn't mind coming, because historically the culture here at the MTA has been anti-minority and women-owned businesses. Over the last 3 to 4 years, thanks to the new change in leadership and the staff of my garden, we've had some progress that makes it a welcome opportunity to come here to testify. I simply want to raise this simple issue with you. To get to the 20%, you need us. You cannot sit around a table and plan for us without us helping you to plan what's in our best interest. Take full advantage of minority and women-owned businesses, both individual companies, trade association, chambers of commerce. Visit the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which is meeting this Thursday. See what they have to say. Visit Amity's operation when they have their procurement conference up in Albany. NISAM, which is out of Brooklyn, another trade association for minority contract, they've been around for up to 10 years. Call on us. We're here to help you. We can help you get to the 20%. You cannot design a way to get to 20% better than we can. Use us. We're here to be friends with you. We're here to help you. Thanks again for this opportunity.
Thank you. Next speaker is Robert Cohen, followed by Sonia Cohen. Sana.
Return of the bus stops on 34th Street to Madison Avenue and Lexington Avenue. CB6 already unanimously approved a resolution, which I have attached, to return these stops on the M34 and M34A, and CB5 is in the midst of doing the same. The local Murray Hill Neighbor Association, which represents the residents and businesses in the area, also wants the above stops returned. If low usage and saving time are the reasons, then these buses should do what other buses do. When no one is at a stop to get on and no one rings to get off, they bypass the stop. Bunching of buses. This is a common occurrence on 5th and Madison, Lexington 3rd, and the M34 crosstown. No buses come for a long time, then several come together. Many times the M101 limited buses come together. On Monday I noticed all the way up on 103rd Street they were already bunched. Fare evasion on buses. It seems that few wheelchair or walker passengers pay even if they enter the front of a bus with a fare box, and the 34-inch rule for children is rarely enforced as they are taller than that and don't pay. You need a campaign of handouts, media, and computer in several languages to remind these riders that they need to pay. Difficulty notifying the driver to get off. In extendable buses or articulates.
Please conclude.
Okay, I'll leave these with you to read.
Thank you. Next speaker is Sana Cohen, followed by Lucia Favuzzi. I apologize if I'm butchering names.
Hi, I'm Sana Cohen, and I live in Murray Hill. And I'm going to talk about the 34th Street buses, 34 and 34A, what's wrong with the system, and new is not always better. Especially, the problem especially hard for the handicapped and the large and increasing elderly population recently mentioned by Scott Springer, Manhattan Borough President, about how important seniors are. Are you in full compliance with ADA Title II public transportation, quote, undue burden, eliminating the Madison and Lexington Avenue buses? The purpose of a crosstown bus is to connect with uptown and downtown buses. Now there aren't even announcements of the 5 Madison and 3 Lexington Avenue buses. Elderly and handicapped, especially in wheelchairs, have to go 2 blocks up and down hills in Murray Hill. And the revised 5th Avenue stop going west creates too long a distance between 6th Avenue and Broadway. Time saved, none. Bus drivers aren't supposed to wait, but they often do, and call out instructions how to use the machines or explain the system to unknowing people or let them on free. The MTA enforcement teams take a lot of time, so that doesn't save time. Why was the 16 changed to 34A? I hear it's about a computer thing. Get a better computer program. To get a ticket and get on a bus when 34 and 34A frequently come together causes constant confusion for regular and non-regular drivers. Now, when the machines are broken, it's so absurd. They're telling you you have to get off the bus, go 2 blocks, and for handicapped and elderly, that's ridiculous. And also the fare beating, most wheelchair people don't pay. 3%, I understand, do, and that's it. And also for walkers and children above a certain amount. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to give this to...
Thank you. Next speaker is Lucia Favuzzi, followed by Marcia Schumann.
I have it back. Okay.
Good morning. I'm here to back up the 34th Street bus stops. The Lexington Avenue busing going from west to east is very important for people coming from Madison Square Garden area or Long Island Railroad because the hospital is right there, the NYU hospital, the Cancer Research. And if they have to go to 3rd Avenue, they have to cross 3rd Avenue to get back, which is a very dangerous street if people know about how many people have been hit by cars trying to turn on that street. The people that direct traffic should really be retrained about people crossing the street because they're letting cars turn and people are walking at the same time. But I find it difficult going up the hill, especially in the bad weather, that if I go to the post office, that means I have to walk up the hill to Park Avenue to get the bus or walk back to 3rd. The Lexington Avenue spot is very important to everybody that lives in that neighborhood. And people that come from uptown, downtown to go cross up to Long Island Railroad, they can't do that anymore. They have to walk back to 3rd Avenue or walk up to Park. So it's very inconvenient that bus stop has been taken away. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Marcia Schumann, followed by Yatana Miller.
Good morning. I'm Marcia Schumann, a member of Murray Hill Neighborhood Association. I live at 35th and Lexington. As you might have noticed, I need a cane. That additional block to 3rd, which is angled and not as safe as it might be, is a hardship. It's a hardship for many of us. If any of you ever ride buses, you'll see the number of canes which are now being used. This is a hardship on those on Lexington, and I'm wondering whether you're planning on canceling the Lexington Avenue bus because you have maintained old buses on that line where one has to climb up those 3 steps. All of the other up and downtown buses have the handicap ready buses. But the big issue here is disability, and it has been ignored. The study that was done, supposedly this was to increase speed on 34th Street. The result of that study showed that there would be no increase of speed for transportation on cars. There may be some slight increase on the buses because we pay beforehand. But it really doesn't improve matters. It has only hurt those of us who are disabled and those of us who are senior citizens, and that has to be taken into account. Please bring back the Lexington Avenue stop as well as the Madison Avenue. You're hurting those riders on those buses who transferred to 34th Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jonitha Miller, followed by Elizabeth Ark, and the final speaker will be Alex Carvello.
I just want to note the irony. The first time Occupy Wall Street has ever been associated with a broken window was this past March 17th through the brutality of the NYPD smashing people's heads against the windows of the MTA buses. The MTA has been a consistent target of NYPD surveillance, arrests, and brutality. What happened on March 17th was unprecedented. What happened this March 17th was just absolutely atrocious and traumatizing. There was an unconscious woman who was thrashed into the bus, and she was just thrashed around until we called in the medics. 17 minutes later, she finally got her medics, but until then, nothing happened. Every time I see these buses again, I won't be seeing buses. I'll be seeing mobile prison systems being carried around. And it's absolutely atrocious how the MTA allowed this to happen. And it's absolutely atrocious that NYPD is creeping and seeping into every facet of our daily lives, including public transportation, which is meant to be serving the lower classes, the true 99%, and meant to be serving and aiding everyone. unlike the community dynamics in this room, which I noticed is mostly white male, which is very unrepresentative of the riders that it seeks to serve. And so I'm here to just state my various disappointments in MTA. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Elizabeth Ark, followed by Alex Covello.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Arce, and I'm here. I organize with Occupy Wall Street, and I was also arrested on March 17th in Liberty Park. To give context again, we were in a park celebrating our 6-month anniversary. It was a day of celebration. It was a day of joy. It turned into a day of brutality by the NYPD. I watched all my friends get dragged across the ground. I watched their heads get stepped on. I watched them get beaten by batons before we got dragged onto an MTA bus. I'm pretty small. I'm not gonna fight. I'm pretty small. Like I was taken and I was absolutely thrown onto the bus, very unnecessarily. Just tossing, just things on the bus just being used to toss our bodies against. It was pretty disgusting, and I think if that's the way the MTA wants to use their buses, then they got to rethink their strategy of using the buses and their budget. I'm here to stand in solidarity with TWU, and we're all in the 99%.
Thank you. Final speaker is Alex Covello.
Good morning, all. I also organized for Occupy Wall Street, and I was arrested on M17th. And I would like to question the use of resources, of public resources, to be complicit with oppression, police brutality, and simply suppression of free speech on a free land that was supposed to be free. 2 minutes is not enough time to describe the whole night and how my comrades and I were kicked on the ribs, called piece of something, thrown into solitary in my case, and handcuffed about 30 times and uncuffed in Bellevue, and the tombs, as they call it. Political decisions are about priority, and here we are to question those political decisions, because when you get resources, a bus, an MTA bus, to use as a link in the chain that will arrest and suppress free speech, there's something really wrong with our democracy. And I stand in front of all of you today to remind that our decisions have implications. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our public speaking session. You're welcome.
Good morning again, everyone, and welcome to the March 2012 board meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about a couple of different issues. First and foremost, this past month we lost a member of the MTA family, Peter Hine, who passed away. Peter worked in our real estate department for almost 25 years. He was known for his kindness, his enthusiasm, his creativity, and his offbeat sense of humor. The friendships he's made have spanned this entire organization. He is known for his love and for his passion of the transit system. It was in his soul. In fact, he worked here, by working here was a match made in heaven. He had an encyclopedic knowledge of New York City and everything MTA. He knew the history of all the lines on Metro North and the Long Island Railroad. He knew why the MTA has an abandoned subway station under the Waldorf Astoria. He knew everything there is to know about the old Essex Street trolley terminal at Delancey Street. In fact, Peter's video on that subject, which was produced by the MTA, quickly went viral. It has had over 30,000 hits on YouTube, and it's available to watch again today. He was an avid railroad buff, and I'm told that one of his good friends actually owned a private railroad car. Peter would help his friend work on the car, and they would actually ride it around the region by hooking up with Amtrak trains. His death is a great loss to the MTA. And more than his institutional and vast knowledge of the transit system, the MTA lost a good friend and a wonderful man on March 8th. I want to extend my deepest condolences to his wife, his 2 teenage sons, and everyone he touched with his amazing spirit. Next, I'd like to talk briefly about a truly special event that was held last week at the Transit Authority. On Friday, the MTA officially renamed the 100th Street Depot in Harlem the Tuskegee Airmen Bus Depot in honor of one of the most remarkable military units in our country's history. The Tuskegee Airmen were the first African-American pilots permitted in America's segregated military, and they were one of the top, if not the top performing units in the United States Army Air Corps during the Second World War. Yet unbelievably, after serving our country so honorably, many of these men came home only to face ugly discrimination that they faced during the war. New York City Transit was one of the few employers in the country that opened its arms to these brave soldiers. 12 Tuskegee Airmen worked for the New York City Transit Authority and its predecessor agencies, more than any other organization in this country. They worked on the front line as train dispatchers, train drivers, collection agencies. They worked in the Office of Labor Relations. They were also managers and directors. All of them were heroes in the war. They were heroes after the war, and we all appreciated them working for New York City Transit. I really think it's another example of the rich tradition of diversity that we've had at New York City Transit and throughout this entire organization. On Friday, Freddie Ferrer and I and Jim Blake were honored to be part of the renaming of the bus depot in honor of the Tuskegee Airmen. And I'm incredibly proud of their history and that it's an indelible part of the MTA's history. I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Howard Permit and his entire team at Metro-North for winning the 2011 Brunel Jury Prize for Design Excellence. This is a prestigious international award. I said at the time, my written notes actually said it was a big deal. I actually changed it to say it's a huge deal. This competition is open to every railway in the entire world. It included 43 different railways from 15 different countries on 3 different continents. This prestigious award for overall design excellence, and that means the jury panel considered almost everything that Metro-North does, from design and engineering, station and support buildings, technical infrastructure, graphics, art, branding, and rolling stock. In the end, Metro-North won for the support buildings category for its ultra-modern shops up at Croton Harmon, but most importantly, Metro-North came out on the top overall prize. Metro-North is the first American railroad to win this prestigious prize in the award's 26-year history. There's currently a display in Vanderbilt Hall at Grand Central Terminal containing panels of all the projects that received awards and commendation in the 2011 competition. The exhibit also recounts the near 30-year history of Metro-North and their phenomenal progress during this period of time. I invite all of you to go to the terminal and look at this exhibit. It'll be there through Friday, March 30th. Finally, I am pleased to confirm that, as widely reported in the media, that the governor and the state legislature have reached agreement on the state's transportation budget. The agreement includes $770 million for the MTA's capital program and an increase in the MTA's bond cap that will be phased in over 3 years. On the operating side, the budget also includes funding to replace the loss of revenue from the reduction in the payroll mobility tax that was put in place last December. This budget is expected to be formally adopted by the end of this week. As part of this overall agreement, the MTA's capital amendment was deemed approved by the Capital Program Review Board. The approval of the Capital Program Amendment will ensure that the MTA can fund the capital projects contained in the final 3 years of the current capital plan, enabling us to maintain our core infrastructure, fund capacity and customer improvement projects, and continue to advance the mega projects that will expand the region's transportation network. I'd like to thank Linda Kleinbaum and her entire team, Bob Ferran and the folks in finance, Hillary Ring, and the rest of the MTA staff who've worked diligently and tirelessly on the capital program amendment for months and should take real pride in their achievement and what it means not only for our riders and our customers, but for also the economic development throughout the entire state of New York. Moving forward, the minutes of last month's meeting have been distributed to all the members. Are there any corrections or omissions? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. The minutes are approved. I'm now happy to turn the floor over to MTA Vice Chairman Andrew Saul, who chairs our Finance Committee, for that committee's report. Andrew?
Thank you, Joe. There are 2 action items this month. The first action item is to approve a resolution to issue bonds in an aggregate principal amount necessary to provide net proceeds, exclusive of premiums, sufficient to fund up to $250 million of capital projects of the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority. This action item also authorizes the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, the Vice Chairman, the Chair of the Finance Committee, the Chief Financial Officer of MTA, and the Director of Finance of MTA to take such actions and to execute and deliver such documents as may be necessary or desirable to effectuate this transaction. This resolution and associated actions are described on pages 22 to 34 in the materials distributed for this meeting. Number 2. The second action item is to authorize the filing of the annual all-agency procurement report as required by Public Authorities Law, Section 2879. The report was distributed on a CD along with the meeting materials. The committee recommends these action items, and I move them.
Are there any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
There are 6 competitive procurements in the total amount of $24.2 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
There's a second. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There are 3 real estate action items which are described on pages 56 to 209 in the materials distributed for this meeting. The committee recommends these real estate items, and I move them.
Item's been seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Joe, that concludes the finance report.
Thank you, Andrew. And now a report on the Transit Committee from its chairman, Mark LeBeau.
The Transit Committee met on Monday and reports the following. There are 8 procurement actions totaling $606.6 million. There are no non-competitive procurements. There are 6 competitive procurements, 2 for MTA New York City Transit and 4 for MTA Capital Construction, in the total amount of $605.9 million. One of these is for 300 new rail cars for New York City Transit's B Division. These rail cars will be built in Plattsburgh, New York. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Do we have a second? Second. Any questions? Any comments? There being none, all in favor?
Chairman, we heard something in the public portion of this meeting. Is there anything to those comments?
No, the 2 things. No, sir. To my the winning bidder, all of the numbers were put into the same categories so that they were compared appropriately and properly. The winning bidder won by a little over $57 million, and we will respond to Alsgar directly in writing to their complaint.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
There are 2 ratifications, one for MTA New York City Transit and one for MTA Capital Construction, in the total amount of $0.7 million. The committee recommends these ratifications, and I move them.
Second.
Any questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
This concludes the Transit Committee report.
Thank you, Mark. I chaired this month's meeting of the Bus Operations Committee. There were 4 procurement actions in the total amount of $34 million. There was 1 non-competitive procurement in the amount of $22.6 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move it. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There are 2 competitive procurements in the total amount of $6 million. The committee recommends these procurements. I move them. Any questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There was 1 ratification in the amount of $5.4 million. The committee recommends this ratification, and I move it. Any questions or comments? There being none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. This concludes the Bus Operations Committee report. I'd now like to turn to Jim Sidor to get the report from the Metro North Long Island Railroad Committee. Jim?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The Metro North and Long Island Railroad Committee met this month and reports the following. There are 5 procurement actions totaling $14.9 million. There are no competitive procurements. There are 4 competitive procurements, 2 for Metro North and 2 for the MTA Capital Construction Company, and a total amount of $14.5 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Any questions or comments? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
There's 1 ratification for the MTA Capital Construction Company in the amount of $355,477. The committee recommends this ratification, and I move it.
Second.
Any questions or comments? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
This concludes the report of the Metro North and Long Island committees.
Thank you. Before we move, as part of the Bridge and Tunnels Committee, to Alan Capelli, there is a walk-in item that was discussed at the committee meeting briefly earlier this week. It was sent electronically to all board members yesterday, and it was discussed, as I mentioned, at the Bridge and Tunnels Committee on Monday. The budget bills agreed to by the governor and the state legislature include a section reimbursing the MTA for the costs associated with the modifications to the rebate program for Easy Pass customers who reside in Broad Channel and the Rockaway Peninsula in Queens. This staff summary authorizes the chairman and other appropriate officers of MTA and MTA Bridges and Tunnels to take such actions as may be necessary to modify the existing program to extend the rebate coverage to the first 2 tolls incurred on the Cross Bay Veterans Memorial Bridge, subject to anticipated enactment of the budget bill containing this appropriation. I move this item. Are there any questions, comments before we move forward? Yes, Mr. King.
I'm going to vote for this item for 2 reasons. One is because I happen to do think at the time that this is a unique circumstance, and 2, because it's my understanding that if we don't fall for it, this money doesn't come to the MTA. But I do so with a little trepidation because 2 years ago we spent a long time talking about this item and speaking with individuals and hearing from Rockaway for a very long time, and the MTA stood very firm in that we were making decisions based on the financial implications on the MTA's budget, and this particular item was no worse than any other cut that we were providing to the rest of the system. I voted for that cut at that time. My trepidation and my concern, and I hope that as our partners in Albany make the decisions for whatever reason that they make, and they start singling out cuts of one or the other, that this is a unique circumstance, and that we do not see this occur every time the board makes a decision on the transportation needs and the funding requirements associated with those needs and the actions that this takes. We have no choice in this matter. They're giving us money. They should go to the benefit of the individuals who had received this rebate, and for that reason I will vote for it. But I am concerned about the precedent that this may set moving forward.
To add to that precedent-setting nature of this, I've also informed the leadership in the legislature that we will do this so long as the money is there. If by any chance, any time in the future, a future legislature does not provide this money, this will be reversed and go back to what existed prior to their action, so that we're never on the hook for their actions by not funding it. Yes, Mr. Capelli.
Yes. 2 years ago, I was on the opposite side of the board on this issue. I supported, I opposed the elimination of this rebate for the residents of the Rockaway. Perhaps it's because I come from a very toll-sensitive part of the region, and I understand the frustration of people who are geographically trapped by these bridges. So I applaud the governor and the legislature for taking this action to remediate this particular situation, because I thought that those residents were treated unfairly, so I will support this motion. I would hope that this will help to open up a dialogue, however, with state and city officials to discuss the issue of geographic fairness in the collection of tolls in the region with those of us who are interested from this board, because it's very hard for us having half of the bridges in the region to be able to manage traffic flows and create regional fairness without the whole picture. So I think that elements of the mayor's congestion pricing plan and elements of Sam Swartz's plan need to be on the table so that we can come up with something that's fair to every New Yorker in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. I've moved this item, and I think it was seconded. Do we, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, Alan, back to you in presenting the rest of the Bridge and Tunnels agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Loda. Bridges and Tunnels met this past Monday and reports as follows. There being no competitive procurements, I report that there are 2 competitive procurements in the total amount of $1.65 million. Committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Second.
It's been a second. Are there any questions or comments? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This concludes the Bridges and Tunnels Committee report.
Thank you, sir.
I chaired this month's meeting of the Corporate Governance Committee and report the following. There are 3 action items as follows. 1, to review the MTA's mission statement, performance measures, and to authorize the submission of the 2011 mission statement and performance measurement report to the State Authority's Budget Office in accordance with Sections 1269F and Sections 2824A of the Public Authorities Law as described on pages 252 to 278 in materials distributed for this meeting. 2, to approve and adopt the revised all-agency travel and business expense policy as described on pages 279 to 300 in the materials distributed for this meeting. 3, to approve and adopt the revised all-agency procurement guidelines on all-agency guidelines for procurement of services as described on pages 301 through 327, also in the materials that were distributed for this meeting. The committee recommends these items. I move them.
Second.
Second. Any questions? Any comments? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This concludes the business of this meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion made.
Any second? Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Before we start, a press release was handed out to you. If it hasn't, it will be shortly. Just want to talk about a new procurement method in which the MTA is going about trying to save money by going through e-procurement. E-procurement works as a reverse auction. If we have items that we determine the standards, we put those standards out to the world through the internet, and we say we want to buy X thousand dollars of these widgets, and then we create this competitive open auction and e-market. We just did this for office supplies, and we believe that it reduced our expenses by 17.5%. We're going to continue to see more and more of this at the MTA, trying to find ways to make our dollars go, our limited amount of dollars go a lot farther. So if you have any questions on this, the MTA press staff as well as the procurement folks will be available later to discuss it. Pete, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Do you agree with the use of MTA, New York City Transit buses to transport prisoners? And do you think bus drivers are trained to be transporting prisoners? And
this relationship between the Transit Authority and the NYPD goes back probably over as long as the Transit Authority has been around. Do I support it? I do support it. I do support the fact that we will work with the NYPD on all types of situations when we have in the past. As we've done before, the drivers, if the Transit Authority drivers do not want to participate, the New York City Police Department has drivers who are trained on our buses, and they can be used by the NYPD directly. And as you know, the courts did not uphold the action taken by the TWU over the Brooklyn Bridge case. So the federal judge said did not grant them a TRO, did not allow this again because of the nature of this.
But why do you support the use of transit buses to transport?
I think it's not just to make it specific to to transport arrestees. They've been involved, the buses and the NYPD have been involved in evacuations on 9/11. They were involved in getting people out of Lower Manhattan during Hurricane Irene, evacuations in various parts of the city that were lowland. They were involved. Look, it's when you have situations like this and the police determine that the best and highest use is to get people from point A to point B, we will help them. And if the transit workers don't want to participate, the NYPD will drive those buses.
How have negotiations been going with GWU?
They're proceeding. They're proceeding.
We got the operating funds we needed from Albany this time, but part of the argument, certainly against the House Republican bill in Washington, was that sort of uncertainty and depending on a budgetary process is a lot harder for a transit agency, and that you need dedicated funding. So now that you have the money you need for 1 year, what are you going to do to start trying to achieve a dedicated funding stream again?
I will continue to work with the folks in Albany as well as our congressional and senatorial staff in Washington on dedicated funding. I was in Albany till around 10 o'clock last night. I'm really basking in the glory of what happened in Albany and really appreciate all the support of the governor and the leadership in the legislature. We'll get to next year starting in about an hour.
It sounds like some people are maybe already there. And what Mr. Capelli just said about the Schwartz plan and elements of the mayor's congestion pricing plan, I mean, is it fair to say that all of that is really still in the mix of what the MTA may eventually need?
I have not had any discussions with anyone other than Sam Schwartz directly on the Schwartz plan, so I don't know where it's going. But I do believe that, people are focused on this, and I think it'll probably be a very big item during the mayoral race next year.
Hi, Chairman. Part of the capital plan we know is the funding of the major big projects and even the day-to-day maintenance of things. I look through and I see the role of consultants is mentioned in procurement from today. $10 million for another batch of them to assist in some business initiative planning, improvement planning as well. Why is that a valid cost right now?
Greg, the initiative that was voted on today to hiring planning consultants is that I think the most important thing that we can do is to continue to use the brain power of the private sector to determine how we do our planning process. It had nothing to do with, you started off in the capital program and all of that, that portion of it. This has nothing to do with the capital program. This has to do with overall planning to make the authority and all of its operating agencies as efficient as possible. Trying to get as much brain power in and acquiring that brain power, not making them permanent employees of the MTA, but being able to use them, I think, is the highest and best use of our limited dollars.
And what would you see generally as their role going forward? Is it more consultants? Isn't it a role that
No, actually, going forward, I think there'll be less and less consultants, and that's been the trend here at the MTA as well. But I think in this area of planning and strategic planning, in where we go on our routes, and the highest and best use of where we go on buses and rail and subways, as well as our pricing strategies as we're moving forward for rate increases, as you know, every other year. Let's try to get as much brain power as possible to make sure we're doing the best thing.
And one last thing, since I want to ask.
You don't have time for meeting on the floor, do you?
Do you want to have a picnic or so? Or a tour? Did you find that comment funny? Or
which comment?
I get to say it now. The comment from one of the executives that you could practically eat off the floor in Times Square during a council hearing.
the executive who I've known for quite some time, over 20 years, really and many times talks in parables. I don't think he was being very specific. I think he was being I'm not sure what the right word is, but he wasn't saying that people could actually eat on the floor. What he was basically saying is that the Times Square station is cleaned 5 and 6 times a day, and that we do everything we can to maintain the quality of all of our stations. But that's one station that particularly gets attention because of the volume of traffic that was in it.
How would you describe the station that you use every day?
Clark Street station. Well, Clark Street station is unique because it requires an elevator to go down. It seems like it takes 2 minutes to get down because of the grading and how deep below it is in the ground. I think the Clark Street station is better. It looks better than it used to, and I'm very happy for that. The paint has been peeled off the roofs, and I think it's going to, and it's brighter. And I think that's the most important thing. And most importantly, people feel safe there.
Just wondering, the 300 cars you voted today, where are they going to be used? When do you expect them to come online? The ones being made in Plattsburgh, I guess?
Yeah, the R179, the cars will be used on what we call the B line, B division, the B division, which includes the lettered lines. Overall, I'm not sure a final decision has been made yet on where exactly they're going to be used. They should be coming on board for testing in 2014, and I believe online in 16.
Hello.
Hi, John.
So you've had to go to bat a little bit to get funding with the House bill. You wrote letters, the state Senate. I'm just wondering, what's your feeling with the Republican Party? Because that seems to be who you've been, trying to get the money from, who you've had conflict with. I mean, it's your party. I'm just,
It's my party.
Yes. Are you still a Republican?
I think so. Hey, nothing's really changed. When I was budget director, I did the same thing. When I was deputy mayor for operations, I did the same thing. There are people who have different points of view on how they will spend their limited amount of dollars. I will do everything in my power and wherewithal to convince them what the highest and best use of their limited dollars are. And I believe supporting transit funding here in New York City is not just about the riders, it's not just about transit, it's also about the economy. The economy of the New York metropolitan area couldn't operate if the transit system, including the commuter rail system, didn't operate. 8.5 million people come into this city every day by some portion of one of the MTA operating agencies. 90% or thereabouts of people who work in the central business district get there using one of the MTA entities. I think it's really important, and I think that argument is winning today. They realize the uniqueness of the transit system here in New York, and I will continue to make that argument. And I want to thank the leadership in Albany, the governor, the majority leader, the speaker, for their support of the MTA this past week, and looking forward to their vote sometime by the end of the week, so we can now start our next efforts for next year up in Albany.
Tiwa, and then we'll have two more.
Okay. Tiwa, where are you? Where's Tiwa?
Hello, Tiwa. Hi. Over here?
Oh, there you go.
Hi. With the $770 million, most of it's going to be through, or all of it through bonds. And correct me if I'm wrong, the MTA total amount of debt is now approaching what? I mean, I heard a number of $20 billion. Are you concerned about the growing debt, and is it getting to the point where it's going to be too much?
Right. First off, Tiwa, the 770 is not debt. It's cash that's coming directly from the state, from their operating budget. Second,
It's not through bonds?
no, sir, not to my knowledge. We have been going through meetings with the rating agencies, Fitch and Standard & Poor's, showing them what our projected debt levels are going to be based on our current capital plan. They have reaffirmed our ratings of A+, and AA, depending on which one of the bond resolutions, and they've given us stable ratings. They've also noted when they give a rating, they talk about where it is, and they called it stable. To me, that solidifies in my mind that while I'm always conscious of what debt we're borrowing, at least these third parties independently are coming to the conclusion that it's proper and stable. We're not using any of our funding to pay operating expenses. We're using them like we work today in the procurement for rail cars. We're doing it to maintain the system in a state of good repair and also enhancing the system with new equipment. That new equipment, rail cars will last 40 or 50 years. We're going to, and so over time we will pay them off over time. But we never lose sight of making sure that we don't borrow too much. We don't want to put ourselves in a situation where it puts such strain on the system. So we monitor that, we look at that, and we also rely on third parties to give us some level of assurance.
What is the debt of the MTA right now?
Debt of the MTA right now is about $30 billion, I believe. 30.
Annually, it's $2 billion out of a $12 billion budget? roughly?
You're talking about debt service?
Debt service annually.
Debt service annually is around $2 billion. That's correct.
Yes, how... There was some discussion on Monday during the Railroad Committee meeting about restoring some of the cuts on the Port Washington line, and I think you gave the strongest indication so far that you'd at least consider it, given some of the ridership figures on Port Washington. Can you expand on that at all?
No, I'm evaluating all of the cuts that have happened and want to make sure that we're getting the savings that we projected that we're going to get. And if we think at any time that we can actually, that things are working, we're just going through an evaluation process. I'm sorry if you thought my comments were over-enthusiastic. I think you might be reading way too much into it.
Christine, last question.
How are things going with your real estate, the kind of sale of your portfolio? If you're asked to kind of cut in so many other places, how are things going with just overall finding this source of revenue? And then specifically 370 J Street, where you have, you're working with the city and I guess the city's negotiating with you about kind of leaving that property. It just seems like this is a source of revenue for the MTA, so how are all those things going?
Things are proceeding appropriately with the sale of our real estate assets that we've deemed we don't need. Also on the real estate side, it's not just the sale of assets, it's trying to find the highest and best use of the assets we have and see if we can get additional revenue. You will see, as Greg probably saw in Times Square, walls upon walls of new advertising so that we can get additional amounts of revenue. That's also part of the portfolio of the real estate side. We later on this year, I think we'll be seeing an RFP. Is it this year? RFP for the building where you're standing now. Pretty someday you'll be coming down to our board meetings. It'll be at 2 Broadway where the headquarters will move to, and much to the chagrin of the executive staff here, I think, who like it here. And as far as 3 J Street is concerned, it's continuing and proceeding, and it's a negotiation with the city and with New York University.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.